Okay, so we're talking about database, and I said the type of database that we are using right these days are called as RDBMS. RDBMS, Relational Database Management System, right? So relational database management system, because here tables are connected using relationship. So you have foreign key and primary key kind of relationship. But before we get into that, the table is the basic entity, right? So table is where data is stored. Now, if you talk about physical storage, you have these files. Files, your data will be stored in some files. But from logical perspective, from the database view perspective, the data is stored in tables. That's called logical view of a database. So all the data will be stored in tables. So now when if you have to create a if you have to create if you want to store some data, then you have to first create a database and then create a table inside that, right? So how the structure goes is you create a database. Now the concept here slightly varies if you are using MySQL or SQL Server or Oracle. These are all different types of data companies that make database, but all of them are RDBMS. The concept might vary. You might have database and schema concept. Okay, so you can have one. So generally, you have server. Okay, and server can have multiple databases. So when you install a software, you install a server, and server can have multiple databases installed on it, right? So for example, if you talk about MySQL, so I have installed MySQL on a machine. I'm just going to show you. If you just give me a second. Okay, so this is MySQL Workbench. So this is Workbench is through which you can connect to the database. You can work with the database through a UI application called Workbench. So this is the Workbench, and you see this is one server. One installation is like one server, and the server will have multiple databases. All of these are databases. When you work with it, you need to know which database you want to work with, right? Now, depending upon the access, let's say if you are working for a team and then you have to work on certain aspect, you may not even have access to all the databases, right? Since I'm the admin here, I have access to all the database. Sometimes you may not be even given access to all the database. Based on your login, you can have access to only one database. You might see only one database. Now you have a database here, employees. And if you expand this, these are the tables in the employees database. So you have department, dependents, employees, and PyAMP. Okay. So now if I have to read the data from here, so we have command called select. In RDBMS, the programming, okay, the programming, okay, of database happens through SQL. It is called as structured query language. So if you want to work with database, you need to learn SQL language, SQL programming language, SQL structured query language. And we will see how from Python we can fire SQL. Database will respond only to SQL language. Okay, so in SQL language, you have commands like create. Okay, so this is to create table. You can create table or create different objects in the database. So create table, create views. These are different objects that we need to create in the database. Then you have insert. Insert command is used to insert data into the database. Then you have delete. So if you want to delete the existing data, you can use delete command. Then you have something called as update. So if you want to update existing data, right? So you don't want to delete it, but you want to update. Let's say your email ID changed, your phone number changed. So you want to change just the phone number in the database. That's when we use update. So you have insert, delete, update. This is to modify the data. And then if you want to read the data, we use select command. Okay. So these are the commands that we will use. So if I have to read all the data from employees table, now this employees is the table and this is the database. So to refer this to this table, how will you know which table you are referring to? So I will say database name dot table name. So you have select star from database name dot table name. So select is to read and star means read everything from employees. So you say select everything and then you run this power button, you run it, and here you get the output. So it has column like EMPID, FNAME, LNAME, DOB, email, phone number, date of joining, salary, department ID, bonus percentage. These are all your columns that you have here. Okay. So same thing. Okay. All these things you will see how to do it um, from Python. Now we can connect to MySQL and do it, or we can use SQLite. So SQLite, okay. Yes.
But in SQL, when you're writing all those points, so you are making like double dash.
So in database, double dash is the way to write comments. Just like we have hash here, in database, we write double hyphen for writing comments. Yes. So SQLite is a free database, okay, which comes with Python installation, which comes with Python installation. So when you install Python, this database is automatically installed. Okay, this database is automatically installed. Now, there's some feature here. Okay, this database does not have username password. Okay, anybody can connect to it. Okay, this cannot be accessed from outside your server. Okay, this cannot be accessed from outside. Let's say if I've installed on my machine, then you can't access from your machine. So when you develop these applications, right, when you download these applications, they actually have most of these applications, they use SQLite. So it's very light, okay? And when you download and when you install an app, that now database is downloaded on your phone. Now, because it's your phone, nobody else can access. Even if I try to access, I can't access the database itself. And all your related information will be saved in the local machine. Okay. Let's say when you visit, let's say you open some app, okay, you Google Maps, say, for example, and let's say you go and you perform some search. So that data is stored in the local map. So that's why when you keep on using applications, right, your program or file become heavier and heavier. So when you use this app cleaning, space cleaning software, they go and they delete these kind of files. So what happens? All the information is saved. When you uninstall it, it gets deleted. When you install it, it gets created. And let's say if I try to, let's say if try to create a database. In MySQL, I have to create a database first. And if I try to access the database which is not created, I'll get error. But in SQLite, if you try to access and if it is not there, it will automatically create it. So it has a lot of this useful features which actually helps to create a database on client side. Now, two things, okay, Amazon or Google or these companies, whatever you do, right, they can save the data on their machine, right? They will take your data. Let's say you visit Amazon, you visit 10 different things. Now, Amazon will save that information in its own database that, you visited all those. Now, things which needs to be stored, like let's say your account details, your order details, it needs to be saved because that data is important. But what you visited, what site you visited, okay. Now, if Amazon starts doing it, then it has to have so much of database for every individual, right? That is one thing. Second thing is now the it becomes slow also, right? Because your information will be sent through internet to Amazon server. In this case, what Amazon says, okay, these information let me save on the client site itself, right? Because it Amazon will not have to use space, one. internet you won't find using Amazon using slow, because it's not sending those information, because every information is sent to database, it will consume your internet bandwidth. So it is saved, and it becomes faster to access also for Amazon. Tomorrow, if they wants to know what you visited, you can easily go and check in your local server. So it becomes that easy to manage the database, to put it on the client data. And you can't complain that your data is being read by Amazon. You do, because data is kept on your machine itself. Okay, so there is no chance of data leakage. Like somebody attacks Amazon and takes the data, your data will not be taken because it's not on the Amazon server, it's on your server. It's on your machine, right? So that's the advantage of using those. Okay. These days we talk about, let's say, federated learning. Federated machine learning is you run the machine learning model on the client side itself. So this database will help to do all those things. So those are the features of SQLite 3. So this is not used as a central server, but as a local database. And good thing is that we don't have to install using SQLite. Okay, if you want to practice database, either if you want to connect to MySQL or Oracle, you have to install MySQL Oracle. It's a little process, but for SQLite 3, you don't have to. Okay, so if you see here, I'm going to create a database. Okay, so there is a database called BooksDB. Okay, so it's already created. Okay, but we will create our own database. So let's say I use import, okay, SQLite 3. So you have to import SQLite 3 to work with SQLite database. So step number one, because see, your Python is here, but your database will be as a different product, right? Just like file, we created open, right, to indicate where should I go and connect to. Here too, you have to create something called as connect, to tell that I want to connect to this database, this server, this database. So I will say here connection, this is the connection string, equal to your SQLite 3 dot connect. Okay, connect. And in this case, okay, I can give a database name. So I'm going to say database December data, let's say, dot, you can give anything. I'm going to say December data dot SQLite to indicate that, it's a SQLite database. Okay. Now, anyway, we don't have D here, right? So this is we'll see, this is going to create it. Now, if this database is not already there, it will create it automatically. If it is there, then it'll connect. Now, it does not, see, if you're trying to connect to Oracle or other databases, we need to give three more stuff apart from this. Apart from database name, you have to give the machine name. Okay, which machine you want to trying to connect to. SQL Server could be on different server. So you have to give the IP address. Okay, you have to give the IP address, you have to give the database name, you have to give the username. Three more information apart from database name. But since this is on my local machine, so it knows SQLite, okay, SQLite will be on local machine itself. And SQLite does not have username password. You can easily connect. So that's why to connect to SQLite database, you only need to give database name. But if you're connecting to other database, you have to give IP address, you have to give database name, you have to give database user and password. Four things you have to give.
So where this database is
On your local machine, no?
local machine, but what is the path?
So you can give a absolute path or relative path. So is this absolute path or relative path? Relative. So where will this get stored? Where your file is, where your June this is. So now when I run it, okay. So you see, this got created here. Okay. If I say C:/ something, then it got created in C drive. Okay. So yeah, depends upon the path. Okay. Next time now when I run it, this is already there, right? So it will just connect here. It will not create. But if it is not there, it's going to create it for you. Okay. So database is created, and now first thing what we need to do is we'll create a table, right? So the SQL, so database understands only SQL language, right? So we need to create a table using SQL command, right? So I'm going to say create table name. I say books, let's say, for example. Okay, so this is how you create table in SQL. Now SQL is case insensitive. Okay, insensitive means there doesn't matter whether you give lowercase or uppercase. Python is sensitive. So in Python case, lowercase means lowercase. But in SQL, it doesn't matter which case you use. Okay. So create table books. Okay. Now I'm going to add different columns here. So I'm going to say ID, numeric. Okay. Now to create a numeric column, okay. So you can say numeric, you can say integer. So database has its own set of data types. Okay, typically more than Python database. So if I go back to here, okay, and you can type SQLite 3 data types. Okay, so this is your tutorial for SQLite 3. Okay, now you see these are the values. Okay, null, integer, real, text, blob. So okay, so this is integers. Okay, real, text, blob. These are your storage. Then you have Boolean data type, then date and time. Okay, so for now we need only this. So if you want to save an integer value, then you will be using integer data type. Okay, so I'm going to take this and come back to our here, and I can say data types tutorial. Okay. Okay. So create table books, ID integer. Okay. So I'm going to say the ID is the column name, integer. Then you give comma. Now all this can be written in one single line also. So create table, table name, simple bracket open and close. The column name should be added within this bracket. So ID integer, name or title, right? Book is a title. Title you can say text. Okay, then price. Let's say price is also integer. Okay, so this is the command, SQL command to create table. Simple table with 3 columns. Now, for Python, this is just a what do you say? This is just a string. For Python, this is a string. So what we did, we created a string here, and now this string has to be sent to the database. We have to send this string to the database. Okay, so how do we send it? So to send it, we have to create a cursor object. Okay, so cursor is database object to take commands from Python to DB. So this is like a vehicle. You know that I want to connect, I want to go here. But how do you go here? You will use cursor object, and then in the cursor, you will send the text data. So see, except select, all of other commands are one way. I want to create a table. So you'll run create table on the database. You want to insert table, update table. Okay, so it's all one way. Select is two way because you have to send a command and then information is sent back to you. So when you use this cursor object for everything except select, data will run on the database. Only when you do select, it will come and you will get back something. Okay, so we'll see all of these. So cursor object, have to create a cursor object now. Okay, so this is how you create a cursor. So cursor object. Okay, that's good. Cursor object equal to con dot cursor. Okay. So this is how you create cursor. So cursor object is created. Now I have to execute. Now I have to execute this, right? So I will say cursor object dot execute. And then you pass the command here, table one. Okay. So it's going to, okay, execute this query on the database. Okay. So now when I run it, now cursor has to be closed. Okay. So you will say cursor object dot close. So now when you run it, okay, it executed. So table has been executed. Now again, if I try to run it, what happens? You get error because the table is already created. You can't recreate it, right? So that's why this is another way to check that your table has been created or not. So table has been created in the database. Okay. Now, if you want to drop it, let's say there's some problem, you want to totally delete the table, then we have command called drop. Drop table books will drop it. So a table is created. Now I don't have to call this cursor table. Okay, already run, right? Now I want to add some data into this. So to add some data, okay, I'm going to create again insert command. Now insert command, you have to create different command for if you have to enter 5 different values, you'll have to add 5 different command. Okay. Now let's say I put insert equal to, and again command. So insert command goes like this: insert into table name. Table name is books. Insert into table name, and then you give the column names, and then you say values, and you give the values. So here you see table name is ID, title, and price. Right? Doesn't matter, case doesn't matter, but I just want to make it consistent. That's why I put. Okay. ID is number. So number. Title, here we use double quotation. Okay. So I'm going to say Python programming. And price, let's say I put 390. Okay. And then you keep saying cursor object execute, insert one. Okay. And then, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I say Python programming, SQL programming, I'll say Java programming, I'll say
So you are inserting 5 times 5 values, right?
5 values, yes. Python, Java, C++, and let's say C#, let's say. Okay. 390, 290, 490, 395, 492. Okay. So now I'm going to say command insert. Now when I run it, okay, run successful. So your insert has run successful.
Insert one will be same.
ठीक है ना? See, I'm replacing the value and running it. No. So it's not a problem, right? See, immediately I'm running it, isn't it? So it doesn't matter what insert one is. If you write insert 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first and then you execute 5 times, then it has to be different. I'm reading and inserting here. So same insert is replaced, I'm inserting here. Right? So it depends upon value of insert when you're running it, isn't it? So you run it here. Now what I'll do, since this is done, I'm going to comment it out. Okay, and now I'm going to perform select. Okay. Yeah, because all these are this thing, right? So Okay. So I'm commenting all these out because we have run this, right? So commenting all these out. Now, if you try to do select, so select command, right? Select command is select star from table name is books, right? Okay. Now I'm going to say cursor object dot execute select one. Now select will return the output, isn't it? So you read it like an result output because select will return us the values, right? So you read this. Now this is going to return us like an object, right? So I'm going to say here for rows in output and you print row, just like what we do with CSV or text file here. You say rows here. Now when you run it, what happens? Does it print anything? No. Right? Now, if I uncomment it here, and then if I run it, so it's telling you 5, correct? Whatever, so it's when the select is giving us, these are the 5 table here. And then when you again run it, it should be 5 plus 5, 10 rows, right? It's only giving us 5 rows. Why? So see, there are different types of command called DDL, DML. DDL stands for data definition language. So create table is a DDL, you're defining the data. So create table, the commands are auto saved. But DML, data manipulation language, so insert, update, delete, these are manipulating data. So these are not automatically saved. So the moment you exit the program, the data is, so when you are running, okay, the data will be there. That's why when we inserted and select to read, here is giving us the output. But the moment program ends, the data is deleted. Okay, so if you want to save the changes to the database, you have to use commit. So there's a thing called as commit and rollback. Rollback is like remove everything, I don't want to save. And commit, so when you're performing insert, update, or delete, you have to specifically say commit. So now if I want to commit the changes, then I will say here cursor object dot commit. No, I think it's not cursor object. It is connection dot commit. So connection dot commit, whatever changes you have made till line number 33, everything will be saved to the database, should be committed to the database. Now when you run it, you will get 5 times, of course. And now if I comment all these out, if I
For whatever we have wrote is like
saving to the database.
it's not actually saving.
Mhm. It is there for that session. It's like when you open a Word document, you start typing the dot document. So while you're typing, I can see whatever you have typed. But you close it, data is gone. It is, you have to specifically go and say file save. Only then data is saved, right? Same concept.
Saurabh, but actual database में जब अगर हम insert command
नहीं
use
करते हैं. It's not saved. Never it is saved. Okay, you have to say commit. Only then it is saved.
नहीं in actual SQL, like for example,
Actually,
when
SQL में ही
you
बोल रहा हूँ ना मैं. It is not never saved. Okay, the developers will put commit. Only when you put commit, only it is saved. Now, when you are using any application, that application will have commit built into it. The reason is, okay, you might be trying a lot of things. You want to try ये कैसे होता है, वो कैसे होता है, right? Now that your try should not be reflected because your database is single view. There could be 100 people connected to it, right? So if I'm trying something on my session, it's called session. Each of these are called session. If I'm just trying, अरे क्या होगा if I try to change this, what will happen if I? But there are 99 people who are working the database, so their data will appear inconsistent, right? If I change something, that fellow will run the query, will get this value aega. Now again, you go and you change it back, you roll back, then he'll get the different. So other person get confused. Kya ho raha database ke saath? Why data is not consistent, right? So what happens is if when you log into a SQL database, any database, okay, a separate session is created for you. Okay, and you can go and make the changes. You can do insert, update, delete, what you can try out. And when you're confirmed that yes, okay, that now whatever I've done is correct, I want to save it. The moment you write commit, that's when it will be reflected to all the other 99 people. And that data is saved permanently to the database we say. Okay, so never ever see the reason why you work on database and somebody else is able to see is because there's a commit query written inside your application. Okay, so when we log into Amazon, right, and we go through, right, we never say commit, but when you perform something, right, Amazon will put commit there. So the developer who has written the code has put commit. Without commit, your insert data will not be saved, whether it is SQL or MySQL or Oracle or whatever. Okay, for insert, update, and delete, you have to write commit. Okay, until then, it will not be saved. You close the session, whatever you have done is gone. It is not reflected to the database. Right, Apur? Okay, it is never saved. Okay, it is
Yeah.
always there, and you have to. It's called TCL. TCL, transaction controlled language. Commit and rollback are called TCL, transaction control language. So you're controlling the transaction using commit and rollback. Okay, I've done all things. I'll say rollback. You are unsaving. It's like you are saying don't save it. Commit, you are saving it. Okay, so some applications has auto commit. So when session goes away, the commit is fired automatically without your knowledge. So until unless you say rollback, the data is submit. So applications they develop using different way. But if you are working with raw database, you have to say commit. When you build an application top of database, this application will have different logic. They will create commit. So that means when you close, right, before you say, okay, end it, they'll say commit and then they will end it. So that's how your changes are saved in the database. Right? Okay. Now when I say commit, now I go and run it. So you see, you have all the data here in select. Now the data is permanently saved. And everybody else who connect to the database will be able to see these 5 values. Until then, they will not be able to see these 5 values. Okay, so this is how you read the data. Now, when you read it, see, these are like tuple, right? Just like yesterday's example that we did CSV example, you can play with this, right? Rows of, I want only textbook names. I don't want ID and price. So I'll say rows of 1, right? I want price and this one. So I'll say rows of 2. So it will give you book name and the price. So it's now you can use this and use your logic of tuple to do it. Okay, so this is a select. Now I want to update something. So we'll see update and delete. Okay, now let's say the title of Java is Java language programming, let's say. So I'm going to write my update command. Okay, so this is how your update command goes. Update. Okay, update what you are doing, updating books. Okay, set is to change the value. Update books, set title. Okay, you need to know the column names. Now purposely I'm writing small title to show you that case doesn't matter. Though I have written capital title here, but here I'm writing small title. Set title equal to, okay, Java language programming. Now, if I run this command, what will happen? All the title will be set to Java language, Java language, Java language, Java language. Okay. So when you run it, okay, so we are going to say cursor object dot execute. right? And you execute it. See what happened? All of these become Java language. So you have to give a condition here. What is the condition? Where ID equal to, okay, what is the ID of Java programming? 3. I'll say 3. Now, since we did not make commit, I'm hoping that our old data is not saved in the database. Oops, it has, oh, what did I do? Oh, quotation, right? I put everything in the quotation. That's why. Now you see, the Java language programming only ID3 got changed. Others did not go. Because we did not make commit, right? So the mistakes that we made is not saved. Now imagine I had made the mistake, then what would have happened? All your 10,000, 1 million rows would have been updated. Okay. Now, small mistake you made and all the data is gone, right? And then everybody will start hitting you. That's why, okay, these are not auto saved. Okay. Now you go and you say con.commit. I'm happy. Okay. This is what I want. But this view is again only to me, right? Now I go and I say commit. A commit you need only one. Okay. So that's why it's not related to cursor. It's related to that connection. So now when you say commit, okay, now even if you, okay, so this has to be done after execute. Okay. Before. Okay. Now, if you go and comment this out, still, when you say select star from books, you will see Java language programming because what happened? Okay. Okay, let's run it one more time. Okay, now let's commit it. Now see, data is saved now. Okay, so this is how you commit. Now to delete it, okay, now we will write del command, del equal to delete. Delete what? Delete from books. Okay, delete from books. Now, if I stop it here, all the data will be gone. Okay, now when you go and run it, see, gone, no data. Delete from books will delete everything. Now I'm saying where ID equal to 4, let's say. So now I'm saying only delete ID equal to 4. Okay, where same mistake I made here. Oh, sorry, this is correct. Here I need to. Where ID equal to 4. Now you see, fourth one was what? C++. C++ is gone. Okay. Now I have to, commit it, right? You commit it. Gone. Now you can give and commit and say this C++ is permanently saved. Now, if I try to delete 4 after committing, okay, so you see, it's no impact because ID4 is not there, right? And then you can go and commit this part because we had done this. So yeah, that is it. Okay, this is how you connect and you perform insert, update, delete, create, and select. Okay. Now, same thing we can do on our MySQL database. Okay. Now, if I want to connect to MySQL, okay, I'll go here and I'm going to say connecting to MySQL database. Now, to connect to MySQL database, you need to use import different library. Okay, so it is called as PyMySQL. PyMySQL is a Python module to connect to MySQL. So Oracle will be different. SQL Server will be different. So I go here and then connection.
All these are inbuilt.
Yes, all these are inbuilt. Okay, now I have to use MySQL to connect. And here you need to give more than, what you give for SQLite. So I have to give first server. Okay, you have user. Username is root. Okay, then you have host. Host is local host. Okay, if it is some other machine, you have to give the IP address. Then you have to give password. Password is learn SQL. Now you have to give database name. Okay, so in database name, let's use employees. I showed you, right? Employees, let's connect to database employees. Okay, now when I run it, if everything is fine, it will not give any error. But if there's something wrong, you get an error. No error means everything is fine, it's able to connect. Now let's say I make something wrong here. Let's say I give SQL1. Okay, any error, you get error here. Okay, something is wrong. So I go and perfect. Okay, so same thing, right? We just instead of PyMySQL, we're using MySQL, right? Exactly same. Okay, though you don't have to make any change. Now I want to create a table here called books. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, and put it here. Now, if you want to see, if you go to Workbench and in MySQL, you see there's no table called books, right? No table called books, right? Okay, let's go back to our.
If we have one table, so to create again, this we can have more than one table.
Obviously, I showed you that it has 4 tables, right? MySQL already has that database has 4 tables.
That's one table it is written.
One table.
So written table.
Department.
Okay, all these are tables.
All these are tables.
I thought like the heading was tables, so I thought the one.
इसके अंदर tables के अंदर these are tables. This is to indicate that these are tables. These are views. These are stored procedures. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Yep. So we're back here. Now this is it. And we to create an object, right? Okay. So this object we will create. But this time, okay, I'll create object before. Doesn't matter. See, because to execute it, you have to create that, right? So I go here and I say create table. Now, okay, cursor object. Now I told you create doesn't need to be saved. There's no need to give commit for this. Now when I run it, and of course I'll go and say cursor object dot close here. Now when you run it, okay, all good. Now let's go back here and say refresh here. See, the book has appeared. And if you do select star from employees dot books, right? You select and you run this command. There's nothing. See, ID, title, and price. These are the columns we added, right? So it added ID, title, and price, and no value. Of course, we have not inserted anything. So now you go here. We will comment this part, right? And we go back to here and we will copy this entire stuff to here and you run it. Okay, so what I'll do, I will not give commit here. Now when you run it, no error. But if I go here and I run this, see no values because we have not committed. So when you run this, there's no column appearing here because we have not yet committed. Now when we go back and we say con.commit and you run it, and now if we go back to MySQL database and you say, see, all these values have been added here in the MySQL database directly. Okay, so now you come here and okay, we will go back and we'll copy this. So see, the command is exactly same thing, right? We just one change we made. Instead of using SQLite.connect, we use MySQL.connect. Everything command is same because is RDBMS SQL 99% time command will be same. 1% there will be some difference between Oracle versus SQL Server, but 99% of the time there is no difference between Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL. Okay, they have to follow what is called as ANSI standard. Okay, they have to follow ANSI standard, so that's why there is no. So now you say, okay, cursor object dot execute UPA1, UP up, update 1. I run it. You go back here. You go back to MySQL and you run it. It's a Java programming, right? Now when you run it, see? Okay, we did not. So we did not comment out the insert part. That's why it has run again. So you have something called as creating that as primary key. If you make a table primary key, then it will not allow you to add duplicate values. Okay, so if you get deeper into SQL, you will understand. Okay, if I say primary key here, right? Then it will not allow duplicate values. Okay, so here, yes, we have to comment this out. Otherwise, it will again create another set of values. Okay, so now when you say where ID3, now we'll have two ID3s, right? So when you go here and let's run it. So see, Java language programming and Java language programming, right? Okay. Now we go back to our PyCharm and then we say update done. Now we go back here and we'll take delete. Okay, we'll say delete. And now you run it. Okay, we go back again to MySQL. Okay, you run it. So you have C++, right? Now when you run it, see both the 4's gone. There's no C++, no 4 here.
Previously, when we were working for SQLite, then we have used this commit.
इसे commit तो यहाँ पे भी है ना, है ना?
Everything is same as वो connection का beginning statement different है बस.
So now you made update, delete, insert, same. I mean, select. You can do select here also, right? So I'll go and copy select. And now what I'll do, I will, instead of selecting books, because we have already seen select book, right? Let's go and say select employees. Because employees is the table, right? Which is there. You run it. Yes. Oops. What did I do? Output equal to select one. Select star from employees. Output equal to what? Line number 36. For raise in output, this is not working, it says. Cursor object dot execute select one.
The database. So How we can understand which table we have to select?
So we are saying, no, dot, this is the table name, right?
Table?
No, so see, database, it knows because this is the database. So within this database, I'm connecting to table. Table name is also employees. Is it employees or maybe I've given small error? It is employees, correct. Even if I do books, this is not what I expect. Int object has, okay, it's not printing, it's not getting the value. Select one, select star from books. What happened here? Cursor object, we're closing here only, right? Cursor object dot execute, cursor object dot execute, select one, so it's output. Okay, so let me do one thing. Print. I think this is not getting the data, okay? Something is wrong. It is not able to get the data from here. It's printing as integer, that's what it's saying, 8. Select star from books. It's saying 8. It should. I don't understand. Select star from. So it's giving me the count of the rows, 32 rows. But we are not getting value. Hmm. Execute. I'm sorry. Okay. So what you do is, so yes, this will give you here in MySQL, you have to make one small change. Change, you have to say, like for example, output, right? Output equal to cursor object dot fetch all. So you have fetch one, fetch all. Fetch one will pick only one row, first row. Fetch all will get you all the rows. So you have to say fetch all, yes. And now you get the values here. Okay. So now you get the values here. So you can now fetch all you have to write. Even in SQLite, fetch all will work, but in SQLite, even this worked. But really, actually, you have to do fetch all to get all the data. You see, these are the data from there, from the employees. You want, you can say books. So you execute and then you say fetch all. Fetch all will give you all the data from the database. So fetch all we have to write there. Okay. So this is how you work with databases. Any questions here?